What do you play? Maze's End came up in the discussion.
I will never touch this deck again. Me and this deck have had bad experiences together. But you see, all right, breaks on the board here. There was a Thoughtseize on turn 1, and the Thoughtseize looked like it took a Riot control. Great. And 2 gates so far for the Maze's End player.
That is the big threat that I'm looking for with Thoughtseize, really.
Riot control?
Is Riot control. That's it.
Yeah, you don't want him fogging you and gaining some life. And this actually, though, is a threat. We see Night Veil Spectre on Uppal's side.
If that hits a guild gate...
Yeah, so does he have double copies of his guild gates, or is he... No, he's got one of each.
Yeah,
so
one of every single one.
He does have some ways to win post-board, but not many. Like, if this hits a gate, he could just get him. And it hits Island. I saw a land, and I was thinking, okay.
Yeah, I mean, Robert can still win, to be fair. Like, he has Jace Architect of Thought. He has an Elspeth. And he has some sideboard Jace Memory Adept. So he has a few other things that he could potentially use to win, right? But it takes away the easy win con.
Yeah, well, the other problem is, like, it's very hard to, like, you don't have enough, because you're playing things like Fogs, you don't actually have very much permission to protect your alternate win cons on top of that. So, like, say Justin just sandbags some heroes' downfalls and then, like, exiles a gate, that's probably enough.
Yeah.
And you see there, Supreme Verdict cast from Robert Saville took care of both Night Veil Spectre and Lifebane Zombie, and another Spectre for Uppal. Yeah, remaining cards in Saville's hand, he does have a Jace Memory Adept in hand, along with a pair of Sphinx's Revelations. Pithing Needle was the draw for the turn on top of that. And we'll see Jace made. And I wonder, he could draw a card, or he could just go straight for the mills. I think you draw to start.
Yeah, it depends, right? Like, if you're interested in Pithing Needle, the Mutavault, which seems reasonable, protect your Planeswalker, like, it is possible that maybe you could just race with this Jace Memory Adept, but if he feels like that's not a really good plan and this is just going to bite a hero's downfall, then you probably just want to use it to draw a card.
Needle does name Mutavault. Actually, one of the more important things to have Needle in the sideboard against these Mutavault decks, mainly because otherwise it forces you to continue to have Fogs every turn, or just like a kill spell for Mutavault.
Yeah, and that can be tough. Like, this deck is already trying to do a lot of stuff, and it's not easy for a Turbo Fog deck, right?
Right. And I mean, well, the interesting about this deck is you called it Turbo Fog, which I think is, like, pretty fair, but it's not Turbo. It's just Fog.
Well, it's Fog up until Sphinx's Revelation, then it's Turbo.
Right. And a lot of times you see cards like Urban Evolution in this deck. He's not really messing around with it. This is a pretty conservative Maze's End deck. It is basically blue-white control / fog. It's like blue-white fog control.
Yeah, I mean, it is basically just blue-white control with a few fogs.
Maze's End.
Yeah, fogs, riot controls, Maze's End for a pretty solid win condition in the mirror match, I would imagine.
This deck is great. Has a great matchup in the mirror. I mean, as you could expect. He's going to go for a small revelation here with Desecration Demon in play.
Yeah, so now that Robert has a fog, it looks like he's just going on the mill plan. He knows that he can fog this turn, and he just drew a bunch of cards, so maybe he can find another fog, and if not, he still has another Sphinx's Revelation, so he's got a lot going on.
Yeah, fog in mill 10, fog in mill 10. So we're not Maze's ending this game yet.
It doesn't look like it.
Underworld connections made for Justin Uppal. And I do think with Maze's End, it's helpful to just think about Maze's End as being a control deck, just like it's a Revelation deck still.
Yeah, that's certainly true.
And swing here. Justin's got to know what's happening. I mean, he left up green, and there you see it. Fog. Jace does not take anything. More mill on the way. I don't believe Robert has another fog in hand yet.
Not yet. But Justin doesn't know that, right? So if you're in Justin's spot, like, how do you feel? I kind of think that he might be thinking that the game is just sort of slipping away at this point.
I mean, the Maze's End deck's not terribly consistent, so you always got a shot. And especially when you see Robert plussing the Jace, you have to be pretty happy about that one.
Yeah, that's certainly true.
He trusts the Jace. He now has Jace in play and 2 more Jace in hand. Those are the Architect of Thought variety, though. Maybe we see a third Guild Gate. This is the Celestia one. Goes into play for Robert. He does have Dissolve, Last Breath, and another Sphinx's Revelation in hand. So he can't just go the traditional route of, okay, let my Jace Architect Memory Adept die, rev for 3, find a Verdict, cast Verdict.
Right.
Go on my merry way.
And it does just feel like a pretty normal blue-white control deck then.
Yeah, so if you look at this in terms of a blue-white matchup then, I mean, Justin does have an Underworld Connections going, right? That's very good against blue-white.
That is true.
So, and we see the swing once again. 8 power worth of creatures. Last Breath is going to take care of Nightveil Spectre. That takes away the threat of possibly exiling a maze, or a gate. And what happens to Desecration Demon? It takes care of Jace.
So Justin's probably pretty happy at this turn of events.
Yeah. He's got 2 more Mutavaults in hand right now. 1 in hand, 1 in play. And we see another Desecration Demon will quickly get dissolved. Robert sees another dissolve on top. Thought about it, he's going to choose to keep it. It doesn't mean he's going to take a hit off this demon, decides it's worth it. He does get to Jace and Cold Up Dissolve. It's probably worth.
Yeah, and I think at this point, you're probably saving that revelation for later. You have 7 mana, so you get to do things like play a Jace Architect of Thought, maybe draw some cards, and then if Justin wants to spend his turn attacking it, then you're fine with that too.
Yeah, he's actually going to just rev for the full amount, right? Main phase.
Yeah.
Seeing what lands he can hit. He does hit gate number 4. Doesn't actually have the Maze's End yet. And that
you could just naturally draw all the gates and then find the Maze's End, you know?
Yeah, you do have to activate Maze's End to win.
Yeah.
So even if you have all 10 gates, just playing Maze's End isn't enough. You have to let it untap and then tap it. Desecration Demon hits Robert down to 16. He's still comfortable here. Maybe you fire off the Revelation because there's a worry here when your opponent has Underworld connections going in a deck with 4 Thoughtseize, 4 Duress, that if you don't cast it soon, he's eventually just going to take it from you.
Yeah, that's entirely possible.
Let's see who's up to. It's another Underworld connections for Justin, and it looks like a big drain being set up. Gray Merchant for 8. And Robert's only down to 8 life.
Yeah, he's just 1 Gray Merchant away. And at this point, Justin's going to be able to start drawing 3 cards a turn. He's getting closer and closer.
So he does play Detention Spheres, right? So he could sphere both of these connections.
Right.
If he could play Sphere and Verdict, you see a Verdict in his hand.
Yeah, he has 3 spheres in his deck. Justin hit 1 off of the Nightveil Spectre, so he doesn't have many left.
Yeah. Looks like he's going to have to Verdict here. He's going to Verdict away the creatures. He does have a Dissolve for Gray Merchant, but remember, Uppal's drawing 3 cards, so he could like duress the counter spell.
Yeah, could very easily find a discard spell first.
Yeah, Saville's is not safe here. We'll see if it's enough, though.
The swings in this matchup.
Maybe this is what I'll play at my last FNM. I'll play Maze's End. I'll try it one last time and then I'll be like, man, I still hate that deck.
So Justin found a Thoughtseize, and I think his last card is the actual other Gray Merchant. He just needs to find 2 more Devotion.
So he's going to Thoughtseize, yeah, takes the Dissolve. If you're Robert, do you dissolve the Thoughtseize?
I think you might as well. You're not saving your mana for anything else, and it allows you to get a scry going, and then it doesn't let Justin look at your hand.
Yeah, it seems like you just make that play. Can Justin find more mana symbols? He's going to tap, start out with Underworld connections. He's going to have to find it pretty fast, though, because he's going to run out of mana here, right? He needs to save 5 for Gray Merchant. He only has 2 more up. He basically would have to drop, I'm not sure. He did draw a pretty sweet one here, though, in Erebos, God of the Dead.
Yeah, that's definitely a good card. I mean, with Robert at 8 and Justin having another Gray Merchant in his hand, Erebos shutting off life gain is actually a pretty big deal.
So my story, of why I think Erebos is really good is when I play blue-white, I would say in every matchup, if you ever rev for 7 and draw another rev, you win, right?
Yeah.
And I think the only time that's not true is when my opponent has an Erebos in play.
Yep.
And those are the only times I've ever revved for 7 and lost. Because without the life gain, sometimes you're just still dead to their Gray Merchant.
Yeah, I mean, the life gain is part of what makes Revelation so good and allows you to stabilize.
Exactly. We see Jace as the play for Robert.
And now we're going digging.
Yeah, but it just seems like it's not going to be enough here. You see Detention Sphere and 2 lands. Justin's going to put the Sphere by itself, but Saville has to take it.
Yeah, of course. But I think now you get to sphere the 2 connections. Erebos is still there drawing Justin cards, but it's not on. It's not a creature, and he takes away a lot of the devotion that Justin has.
You have another turn to do something, right?
Yeah, so now it looks like Robert is considering whether or not to play his Breeding Pool untapped so that he has Dissolve mana open.
And he's going to Detention Sphere the Erebos. I would want him to hit the Sphere, the Underworld connections.
Yeah, okay.
I mean,
this is pretty reasonable, too, where he just wants to turn his Revelations back on, and maybe he might need to do that in order to win the game, so I could definitely see that. Because after this Sphere, he only has 1 left.
he just like dies to Gray Merchant here, right? Justin can play Pack Rat, make a rat, cast Gray Merchant, and that's lethal.
Yeah, I mean, to be fair, he doesn't know what Robert has. He could very easily have another Last Breath, but it does look like Justin is just going to go for it.
Plays Pack Rat, he's going to make a rat, and I think that's exactly what's going to happen. That's mana symbols number 5, 6, and Gray Merchant makes 8. And that is it. Justin Uppal, 9-1, is into your top 8. And this is like the strength of mono black. It's kind of why why I get scared about playing against the deck with blue-white, or even just these rev decks.
Yeah, I mean,
they do this annoying thing with Underworld Connections and Erebos and 100 discard spells.
Yeah, it seems like the stuff that the control deck is doing is more powerful overall, but the black deck has so many different angles to it.